Welcome back. South Africa is hosting its second G20 working group meeting, this time focusing on the digital economy and AI. Now, following the recent Labour working group, delegates are now gathered in Gqeberha, where the spotlight is on how digital policy and innovation can support inclusive growth, both globally and here at home. Let's bring you more on the story now and take you live to Sipha Kema, who is in the Eastern Cape for us. Sipha, good afternoon to you. You know, all of the buzzwords are in that introduction. It's the digital economy, artificial intelligence, inclusive growth. But what is really taking place there? What are the discussions happening there, and who are involved?
Absolutely, Michelle. Now, as you mentioned, today is the second day of the Digital Economy Working Group. It started yesterday with the Minister of Communications and Digital Technology, Soli Malatsi, opening the event, as well as the Eastern Cape Premier, Oscar Mabuyane, welcoming all delegates that have come down to the Eastern Cape and Gqeberha in particular. Now, yesterday, Michelle, the focus was mostly on issues of connectivity, and today it's looking at infrastructure development, really. But Michelle, we don't want to take away from one of the issues, the underlying issues is young content creators in South Africa looking to monetize their platforms. We do know that there is an issue of unemployment, a high unemployment rate, and this could be something that could definitely bridge the gap for young people in South Africa. But one of the biggest issues and challenges facing those young people, most especially in the rural communities, but in the Eastern Cape, even in the city, is the issue of connectivity. I'm joined by Director General of the Department of Communications and Digital Technology, Gqeberha Jordan Gyani. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ms. Gyani. I think, as I mentioned, one of the most issues or challenges facing content creators in South Africa, most especially rural provinces like the Eastern Cape, is the issue of connectivity. Now, yesterday there was a discussion around that. So how, as South Africans, do we bridge that gap to get our young people in and part of that economy?
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, and also a pleasure for us to be hosting the Digital Economy Working Group. I think for us, connectivity is the cornerstone of everything else. If you don't have it, you are basically left off from the rest of the world. And as you indicated, especially for the youth, right? Apart from the high unemployment rate, you also have, and we experienced this during COVID, that many were basically destitute. You couldn't go to school anymore. So how do we make sure that we have meaningful digital connectivity to ensure access everywhere, irrespective of where you are, and especially in areas like this, which we consider as a rural province? So we want to equalize the issues with regards to society, so that you're not going to be feeling deprived. So in our yesterday's discussion, we really thought, how do we make sure that the connectivity that we thrive so much in terms of investment, both as government as well as the private sector, you actually have a return on investment? So how do we build on top of that? We need to make sure that you have the adequate content, local content, as you would know, and that's where the youth comes in, as well as your innovators, because I mean now you've got people basically driving most of that with regards to your TikTok, with regards to issues in terms of your Facebook, and many other platforms that we ourselves maybe do not know much about. But we need to make sure that that infrastructure, the access to it, is affordable. So the issue of affordability of devices, the affordability with regards to the infrastructure access, meaning data, also needs to be affordable as well. We all know that, especially if you're unemployed, you have to then decide between, making sure that there's food, you have shelter, vis-a-vis having access to information. And for us as the Department of Communication, we're very intent to make sure that we zero-rate relevant content, especially government content. So we zero-rate health sites, government health sites. We've zero-rated your education sites as well, so that the children who need, perhaps you've missed out on lessons, or for some reason or the other, as you know, we've had issues of floods, weeks that end that, the infrastructure, roads and whatever not are not available, but they will not be deprived, and they will be able to gain and get get access. So what do you need? You need the tools of trade, which is then a device that is affordable, and you also need to make sure that you've got the digital access, meaning the data. And that's basically what we were talking about yesterday, to really build on. South Africa, when we host this G20, we're doing it on behalf of Africa. We all know that most of those countries who are still having digital access gaps, most of them are in Africa as well as other developing countries. So that is the whole idea, that we bring the whole collective international community to make sure that we're very deliberate in as far as closing this digital divide gap.
All right, thank you so much, Michelle. That is the Director General of Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, Gqeberha. Now, the digital economy, or even the digital revolution, has changed things globally, Michelle, where now young people no longer have to stick to the option of being behind the desk doing a 9-to-5. Content creation has become something of value. If you look at South African content creation, most is coming from your rural villages, your township, all being part of that economy. But what was said by the Minister of Communications, Michelle, regarding that was that he is rallying behind, urging them so that South Africans can get paid on mediums like TikTok. I mean, they give a really huge contribution to content on TikTok, Michelle. But we'll be bringing you more updates from the group working here at Gqeberha. Michelle.